Welcome, everyone. This is Pounds Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at latest in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week, I'm joined by Cinders
Hello.
and Sanswinda.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. And are you ready for a rocky ride?
As ready as I can be.
Yes. This week, Stone Games published on Friday. That's yesterday, as of this recording. The information regarding the ultimate closure of the 32-bit game world. And as far as I can tell, it is happening a little bit faster than Standing Stone Games had hoped, I guess is probably the best way of saying that. Because there seems to be a sudden danger, and it looks like that the August 31st date has turned into a hard deadline. So we are writing to share important information with you about the closure of our 32-bit game worlds after August 31st, 2025. In recent months, we have been deploying new 64-bit game worlds and offering free transfers to players to continue their journey on the updated game worlds. This message will update you on the future of our 32-bit worlds, free transfers, current and future dark worlds, the old forums, what to do as a kinship leader, and more. Many players have already transferred, and you can learn more about free character transfers in an article on LOTRO.com. Players can continue to transfer their characters to our 64-bit game worlds until 11:59 p.m. Eastern, -4 GMT on Sunday, August 31st, 2025. After this time, our 32-bit game worlds will close. Please note that we intend to reopen these 32-bit game worlds as dark worlds for a period of 2 years, during which time the players will be able to transfer their characters from these worlds to our 64-bit worlds. However, we do not yet have a confirmed timeline for when these transfers will become available, and we are unable to share further details at this time. Therefore, we strongly encourage all players to transfer their characters from our 32-bit game worlds to our 64-bit game worlds prior to 11:59 Eastern, -4 GMT, on Sunday, August 31st, 2025. It is also important that you prepare for transfer prior to the end of August 31st, since you will not be able to log into the game worlds when the worlds reopen as dark world servers. In other words, they'll be available only for transfers after August 31st, and even then there'll probably be a gap between the time they close and the time they reopen as dark worlds. So, if you want things to be handled in a way that you can control your characters and prepare your characters and all that, we suggest doing it before August 31st. So, what's happening? The following 32-bit game worlds will close after 11:59 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, August 31st, 2025. Arkenstone, Belangare, Brandywine, Creek Hollow, Evernight, Gladden, Guahir, Langerville, Laurelin, Siranen, and Treebeard. In other words, all of the 32-bit worlds. After this time, further character transfers from these game worlds will not be available for some time. You notice that's being left indefinite, and you will not be able to log into these game worlds in order to organize and prepare for transfers. We strongly encourage everyone to transfer their characters, kinships, shared items, and anything else of value to our 64-bit game worlds prior to 11:59 p.m. Eastern on August 31st, 2025. You'll notice that there is a lot of repetition in here, so they want to make sure that you don't forget that date.
Yeah, it seems pretty important to get your characters transferred before 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on August 31st, 2025.
Yes. Right.
You know what I wish they had going with this?
What?
those boxes that let you get a title for your characters saying what server you were from. The Many Worlds ones that were a thing when I first joined the game. Presumably when the old servers were closing.
Yeah. I think they had some sort of box on that or something. I can't remember the details since that was from 10 years ago.
Well, you got a Cloak of Many Worlds and a box of titles that you could choose a title saying which server you were from.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The
so
box
you could be like Sanswinda of Landreval, or, you know.
Right, and so some people chose the title to their new world, and other people chose the title to their. Actually, I think you already and it
let you pick which world you wanted to say you were from.
Yeah, and most people, I'm pretty sure, picked a world that they actually were associated with in some way.
Yeah. Anyway,
I mean,
that's the one thing that I miss in this whole process. But, yeah.
Well, maybe they'll find some way to handle that. All right, further questions.
It seems like they've got bigger problems right now.
Right, they got bigger problems right now. Yes. Okay, further questions. What is happening to free transfers after August 31st? Our free transfer period will come to an end after 11:59 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, August 31st, 2025. Additionally, our temporary 100% housing return rate will end and be restored to its standard 90% return rate. How long do I have to make characters on the worlds being closed? We will disable character creation on these 32-bit game worlds on Wednesday, July 30th, 2025, during our regular weekly downtime. After this time, through the end of August, no further characters will be able to be created. We encourage players to make any characters that they wish to use for storage and transfer reasons prior to July 30th. So if you want to make a mule, do it before the end of July.
And this could be important because wasn't there something about escrow items being returned to your home world?
Yes, we'll get to that in another article after this.
Okay, but keep it in mind because you might need to make a character.
Yes, there are some people who might need to make characters on this if the thing we're going to discuss applies to you in there. If you do it before the end of July. That's right, because character creation ends at the end of July and the free transfer period ends at the end of August. What do I need to do as a kinship leader prior to August 31st, 2025? All kinship leaders need to abandon or sell their kinship housing while the worlds are still available to log into, meaning before August 31st, 2025. Make sure that you abandon sell your kinship house prior to 11:59 p.m. Eastern on August 31st, 2025. We intend to do work to automatically abandon any remaining housing, but this work is not guaranteed to be possible, so we want you to abandon sell your kinship housing before the worlds close. What do I need to know if I have an outstanding kinship escrow storage issue from earlier transfers that I am discussing with customer service? And we are working to correct this issue in a way that will return missing items to their origin worlds. We will have more information when this work is complete, but we will let you know when the items are available for retransfer. At that time, you will be able to do a new shared item transfer to your destination game world and receive your items. So it's possible you might not need a mule character because I think these are all in shared item storage or something like that. We will see, because there is a further FAQ which I'll be reading I think about 2 articles from now. What will happen to the level cap on Treebeard? We are setting Treebeard to its final cap of 130 on Wednesday, June 18th. That is 4 days from the day of this recording, 2025. This will become available when our game worlds reopen following the typical weekly maintenance. Thank you everyone who has experienced our slower paced Treebeard Legendary World. Obviously this last one is not at a very slow pace.
What's the current level cap on Treebeard Pine?
I am not completely sure. That's a pretty good question. I thought it was something like 65 or 75, somewhere in that vicinity. So, yeah, that is a very, very fast jump, shall we say. I want to check to see if I could get that information. Oops.
I'm seeing things about it being at level 100 a year ago.
A year ago? I think the level 100 on Treebeard? Oh, that's right. I could be confusing 2 different worlds. That's right, because I might have been thinking about Angmar. And yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. I could have been thinking about not Angmar and Mordor, or on where theirs at. Because Angmar and Mordor would not be affected by this because those are 64-bit worlds, so they won't have to worry about. Okay, because right now it looks like it went to 115 on May 7th.
So this is coming out faster than it would have, but will give people more of a chance to actually get to the cap before the server closes.
Yeah, and I think that there are 2 jumps in here instead of the usual 1 jump because 130 I think is what the level cap was after Minas Morgul. So this is going to include the level jump for, was it the Iron Hills that had the 120 jump or something? Or I forgot what point that we jumped to 120. So it'll include the jump to 120 and the jump to 130. So that's 2 proposals in there. And the reason why they chose 130 is because they had already done the engineering work relating to titles and stuff like that for reaching 130 on Treebeard. So those were already prepped and all that stuff. They had not yet done any work for the 140 and the 150 ones. So those titles are just not going to exist at all. So as a result of this, they are going to bring that to winter because they don't want to have a case where people are unable to gain those titles in there, because I know that's one of the things that people like on the Legendary Worlds is the titles that you earn for reaching various levels, and since those titles transfer with you to all of your worlds, they come available everywhere on there.
Yeah, because they're account wide, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, because they're account wide, right? So that's the thing about it, is that on Treebeard they're going to set the level cap this coming Wednesday. So that's 4 days from now as we record this, and that'll be the level cap until the world closes at the end of August. So, which world should I transfer to? We have 3 worlds based in the United States and 3 worlds based in Europe, in addition to our 64-bit Angmar and Mordor Legendary worlds. So in the US, you could transfer to Sting, Galamdring, or Peregrine. And in the EU, you could transfer to Grand, Orcrist, and Myriad. Actually, Orcrist, they might.
Hey, it says at least Orcrist right now.
Yeah, believe me. They may do something to prevent you're going to Orchrist in there, but at the very least, they're going to discourage you from going to Orchrist because right now Orchrist is so stuffed that it's probably best not to go there. There are just too many people there at the moment. So that leaves you Grand and Meriadoc, where Meriadoc is the RP server and Grand is the regular server. Our roleplay designated worlds are meant to give guidance to fellow roleplayers as they consider their destination world. We do not enforce roleplay appropriate naming nor require players on the server to roleplay. Anyone can and does play in these worlds. Like, I have all my high-end characters are on Peregrine, which is the US side RP1, and I don't do roleplay in there. But there are a large number of player events at these things very often, and as a result,
a good place for concerts and parties and
right, concerts, parties, and all of that stuff. I don't know what happened if, like, for example, if most of the people in Crick Hollow, if they went, because Crick Hollow is almost a secondary art, one for at least concerts and the like. So I don't know whether those people went to Glamdring or if they went to Peregrine.
I mean, we
whichever
might end
one
up
is
with
in there.
concerts on all of them.
Yeah, most like, yeah, I have a feeling that's always a possibility on there. They could, as we will see. I mean, this year we are getting pretty close to Weatherstock, so I guess we'll find out. I'm assuming they're on Peregrine, but I don't think I ever went and confirmed that.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out when they announce it.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, you can read more about the character transfers in the FAQ on LOTRO.com. If you are currently on a European designated 32-bit game world, you must transfer to a European 64-bit game world. And if you are currently on a US designated 32-bit game world, then you must transfer to a US 64-bit gaming world. Otherwise, you may choose from any world within your designated US or EU server, but please, whatever you do, don't go to Orchrist.
Is Glamdring still overcrowded too, or is it just Orchrist now?
I think I get the impression that Glamdring is like at its max. Actually, I play on both Glamdring and Peregrine, and I haven't noticed anything that may indicate that Glamdring is overcrowded. I think it's starting to fill up, might be a better word, or something like this, or it might be as close as it gets before you start seeing weird things happening. But I haven't noticed anything like queues or anything like that anytime I've logged into Glamdring.
Fair.
So it's not overcrowded yet.
Makes sense.
Alright. Now, does this change anything about the current transfers from previously closed worlds? No, we are currently offering free transfers from previously closed dark worlds to our 64-bit game worlds on an as-is basis. The following worlds are currently available for players to transfer their characters from, and that's Anduin, Dwardelv, Eldar, Elemdir, Estelle, Firefoot, Gilrain, Imladris, Maiar, Mineldor, Morthald, Nimrodel, Rittermark, Silverlode, Snowborn, Vanyar, Vilya, Windfull, and Withywindle. These transfers will continue to be available until 11:59 Eastern on Sunday, August 31st, 2025. I sense a pattern here. Please note that customer service is unable to assist with any tickets about missing items, missing kinships, unavailable characters, or other issues seen following transfers from these closed worlds to our new 64-bit worlds. These characters will arrive in their final state, and no customer support assisted can be provided relating to these transfers. I'm talking about from the Dark Worlds. After August 31st, 2025, these Dark Worlds will be permanently closed and no further character transfers or item transfers from these worlds will be possible. So, if you have a character that you desperately need to get off those worlds, then this is your last chance to do it. I'm just wondering, if you've been playing for the last 10 years, is it likely that you're going to be have anything you desperately need from those characters? I don't know how much you know about that.
I don't know because I wasn't allowed to make a character on any of those worlds when I joined.
Oh, okay. I guess you got a point there.
I have nothing on any of those worlds.
Yeah.
They were all shut down before I joined.
Yeah, I just got my 9-year gift box, Pine.
All right. It's right, and this was 10 years ago when they shut down.
Right, and I joined like 9 3/4 years before I got my box.
Okay.
So.
I think that I've transferred any characters I have that I wanted to transfer because I think I had a version of Pine Leaf on every single one of them. I think, okay, I'll just take the 10 that I like the most and leave the rest to fend up for themselves.
Yeah, now I've got to figure out like how I'm going to transfer mine to 3 servers. And which ones I'm going to have to leave behind because of character limits.
Yeah, I've heard that you have a sizable number of characters.
I mean, I guess I could transfer them all over, and then I have to actually choose though. Like, this character cannot be played, and then I will feel sad every time I look at them.
Well, yeah.
Or it might actually stop me. I don't know if it's a hard limit or if it's just this many active character limit.
It's a this many active character limit, I believe.
I know it is when you go off of VIP or something like that, but I don't know if it will let you transfer over more than the max available when you're VIP with everything purchased. So maybe I'm out.
I'm pretty sure some people already found out during the previous transfer session.
Probably.
So my guess is that you're just going to have this limit saying, okay, these are available. So make sure you get the ones that are more important to you first, because I suspect that if you have 40 slots and you transfer over 100 characters, I'm guessing that the first 40 you transfer over are the ones that you can access, but I don't know that for sure.
That would make sense.
But right now, I've had it a tendency to let's say prune the characters that I wanted or anything like that before going on in there. So I'm right now working on the DDO side, for the same reason on there is looking over, okay, which characters do I want and which characters do I want to not bother? And it's a much bigger challenge transferring characters on DDO than it is in LOTRO. So, I mean, LOTRO, you could theoretically transfer everything over without logging into anyone or anything like that. That's not going to be true on DDO. It's going to be a lot more complicated. Transfers have always been a more complicated affair on the DDO side.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Alright, let's see, where were we? Oh, yes. If you just remember is that the Dark Worlds, they've been down. They shut down 10 years ago, and it's possible that because of the number of updates there have been since the last time these rules were available, that something may get out of sync and something lost. And as I said before, customer service will not be able to do anything about it. This is transfer over your character, you transfer over your character as is. Now, of course, if something goes wrong with the transfers from the now active worlds, those, if something goes wrong, call customer service. Alright, will I be able to transfer my characters from a closing 32-bit game world after August 31st, 2025? Initially, no. Players can continue to transfer their characters to our 64-bit game worlds until 11:59 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, August 31st, 2025. After this time, our 32-bit worlds will close. Please note that we are intend to reopen these 32-bit game worlds as dark worlds for 2 years. Note the word intend here. Because remember that Standing Stone Games had intended to start investigating and checking out the worlds and deciding slowly after August 31st on what they're doing, and now things had taken a sudden shift where they are no longer to do that. So therefore, when they say intend in here, it means that if something goes wrong and it's impossible for them to access that data after August 31st, then they won't be able to reopen the stuff. That's the warning on there. So if you can do it before then, highly recommend that you do so, just in case they can't fulfill what they intend to do. Alright. So they intend to reopen these 32-bit game worlds for 2 years, during which the players will be able to transfer their characters from these worlds to our 64-bit worlds. However, we do not yet have a confirmed timeline for when these transfers will become available, and are unable to share further details at this time. Therefore, we strongly encourage all players, essentially saying the same thing I just said, that all players transfer their characters from our 32-bit game worlds for 64-bit game worlds through 11:59 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, August 31st, 2025. It is also important that you prepare for transfer prior to the end of August 31st, since you will not be able to log into your game world when these worlds return for Dark World transfers. So that means if for some reason you have to keep some, don't have the ability to transfer all your characters before then or anything like that, if that's the case with you, then make sure you at least have a chance to prepare for it, because if you don't prepare for it, then it's possible something may get lost in the shuffle or something like that. So that's the main part of the article. In other words, those worlds are closing, and you've got a little bit more than 2 months to get off. I guess 2.5 months in order to get off those worlds. Otherwise, you're going to have to go through the Dark World transfer process. And we all know, based on experience from the other ones, that yes, they had kept those worlds up for a bit of time, but then the Dark Worlds were unavailable for, I can't remember how many years. I think it may have been 2 years where they were available for transfers off of, and then 8 years before they came back up again for potential transfers. So just remember that we don't know when it's going to happen, when they be able to do it. And of course, since they used the word intend in there, I think that means that everybody assumed if, for some reason, they're able to access the data to do so. I'm not 100% sure on that matter. I'm sure at some time there'll be more articles and stuff like that from Standing Stone Games, maybe going further into this as we get closer to the time. But if you want to be safe, then I suggest transfer your character before August 31st, 2025. In addition to this, they're also closing the old forums, forumsold.lotro.com. So these are the old forums that were in before they activated the current set of forums. Our previously closed and read-only forums need to be sunset as part of our overall server and technology work. The forums at forums-old.lotro.com have been available for read-only state for some years, but we are no longer able to maintain this service. Please make sure to update the links and grab any text you wish to preserve before 11:59 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, August 31st, 2025. Thank you. Our current forms are available at https://forums.lotro.com. We want to thank everyone who has made the Lord of the Rings Online a success all these years. Whether you have been on our 32-bit worlds for more than a decade or just joined recently, we want to welcome and encourage you to continue our journey on our 64-bit worlds. We look forward to seeing you in-game. And that is the article. We have a link to this in our show notes. But the gist of it is, if you have any characters that are still on there that you want to keep, then we recommend transferring them before August 31st, 2025. Okay, any questions?
Are you getting tired of saying the date and time?
It's going to be seared in my brain, I think, after that.
I think we have our show title.
August 31st, 2025.
I think that is our show title, guys. Right there.
Yeah.
They did a really good job making it prominent throughout, though.
Oh yes, they wanted to make sure there was absolutely no confusion as to the date and time. Now, they also put in the written article that Eastern Time is UTC -4. But I think that would have been one too many things to read all the way through.
Fair. And
yeah,
some people might know it as server time, and that would be accurate as well, right?
Yeah, yes. We usually call that server time also. U.S. Eastern Time or server time are the two phrases usually used for it.
Or UTC -4.
Yeah, UTC -4. So, with that done, let's now go to the other item. That is the plan on recovering missing escrow items, which is another thing. Obviously, they need to get this all settled before August 31st. We have been working to resolve an issue that caused items in Kinship Escrow to not appear following transfers to a 64-bit game world, and we are currently working to restore missing items to players' original game worlds. Once this work is complete, players will be able to bring their missing items to their destination world by doing a shared item transfer from the initial origin world to their current destination world. These items are currently in the process of being restored, so if you see your items returned on your original world, you can engage the shared items transfer tool to bring these items to your destination world. We will announce once all of our processing on the various game worlds is complete. Thank you. So yes, I am pretty sure that they are going to have this all ready before August 31st. I'm thinking they're trying to get this done for next week, and it's more of a heads up for something that's going to be announced next week, but I don't know 100% sure on that.
On the video that Cordovan did yesterday, they were saying that he and Severlin were talking about it, I believe. And
yeah.
They were saying that it's taking longer than they anticipated to push that through. With some of the
Yeah.
servers taking like 24 hours or something. So they're doing their best to get it done as fast as they can.
Yeah. Okay. They're trying to get as fast as they done, and they will announce when when it has been done to all the worlds, so that people could have a look at. And remember that this is kinship escrow that they're talking about here. So let's then head into our next area, and that is a bull rower. Yes, with all this going on, there was actually also a bull rower build. Now this
kind of impressive.
was a
Kind of impressive that a bull roarer build went out in the middle of all of this.
no, actually this came out on that bull rower opened up on Thursday.
And closed on
And
Friday. It was open for just over a day.
yeah, just over a day. So I think they did get some good feedback since it was a PvP focused one. And so you don't want a long drawn out bull roarer when you're mainly testing PvP, because you don't want to spread it out. You want the people who are testing it to be on at the same time. Or at least I would presume that's when that plus they probably had some time in which to prepare the build and the like. All right, so here are the things that they say on the Bull Roar build is kinships. We are doing some significant work on kinships, some of which is implemented in this build. Most of the work is behind the scenes, so they should not impact you in any meaningful way. Please keep an eye out for any kinship operations that do not appear to be functioning properly, and let us know in a bug report. Basically is that they haven't done any intentional changes with the kinships yet. They were just doing the background work, but if the background work broke anything, so if you notice anything broken with kinships or on Bull Roarer, then they wanted to know that's all that meant. So apparently they were doing some work with kinships, but they had to do some infrastructure work first before they could actually do the actual implementations in there. So that build included that infrastructure work. Now, considering that there aren't many kinships on Bull Roar, but I think usually 3 or 4 kinships might be founded on there just to have people so they could group together. Maybe some of the larger kins might create a new Bull Roar version of their kinship whenever they go on there or anything, because Bull Roar does not. I don't think they automatically generate kinships in the way that the regular worlds do. And when you do a true transfer.
That would make sense if they don't.
Right. And very often what do is that some people create kinships for the purposes of people getting together to make it easier to test stuff. And probably they didn't probably have much time to test anything with kinships anyway if it was only up for one day, because but anyway, they had more changes. They made changes to the siege system that they're still trying to tweak that. The quest and guard control, they're making some changes there. I'm not going to go into the details of this because they're probably half the stuff is going to change before they release it anyway. Then, right, so the defenders were being changed, so they're trying to, they reduced the number of defenders and made them stronger. And they're working with the forward camps, the relics, and all this stuff. I haven't read all this out because I know that they're trying to get feedback in order to see what works and what doesn't work, and so they could tweak it to a level that they're hoping would make a better Entermores. We'll see. Now, as for the release notes, the detailed release notes on here, I think that some of this stuff that's in here may find its way into next week's release notes, in that while all the Entmore stuff is not for next week's release, because next week is just a small point release to take care of issues and the like, and for the anniversary. Some of these items that are relating to classes, stuff like this, some of them might have been deemed important enough to push into the release. So I will read these as potential things that we may see, but some of these might also be pushed until the main release of this era. Anyway, for events, we have updated the language of the hardtack event to create event food quest to reflect that you need to finish the food in the ovens before delivery to the respective tables. And it makes sense. I mean, it's hard to deliver food that you haven't finished baking yet, right?
Right? I mean, unless they want it like super raw.
Yes.
Which just seems like a really bad plan for serving to other people.
Yeah, okay, yes. As for classes, for champions, corrected champion fervor trait tooltip to properly indicate that a set bonus to skill damage is 4% per tier, not 5%. This is purely tooltip change to reflect actual value, as it has been this way for quite some time. For Lore Master skill Gust of Wind in red line now correctly increments the deed for the study of wind lore. And Lore Master skill Share the Power Fellowship now correctly increments the deed Knowledge of the Past. For combat and monsters, fixed Runekeeper Runestone ignoring damage mobs from landscape difficulty system. Goblin gourds associated with the Harvest Math quest Gourds and Goblins in Wistmead now correctly displays proper floating names. And raid leaders can no longer move themselves between raid groups once the boss is engaged and the combat lock is active. Oh, you can't no longer move members. Yes. So therefore, no changing the fellowships after combat starts. For quests, deeds, and adventure areas, the Rohan quest Edoras, the Last Cast quest guide has been corrected to show that you must fish in the dock with Dewdrad. In the anniversary event, quest event Year 1 Travels Towering Mountains, the Stone of Eric in both Gondor and King's Gondor will now advance the quest. I presume that during this year's anniversary, it was only advancing it for regular Gondor.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming that because that quest has been around for several years there, and it seems to me likely that it would have worked for regular. It's been working for regular Gondor for several years, and there's unless they broke something, I will assume that was King's Gondor where it wasn't working.
That would make sense.
Okay. The task ent in Daredingle has been given a proper name. Tasks for the Ents of Fangorn Forest now reward players with Fangorn leaves. And the Minas Morgul quest, the Deep Barrow and the Prison of Roniel have had their minimum and challenge quest level increased to player level 123 and 130 respectively to match the instance that they require for completion. Alright, I guess they wanted to make sure that was fixed. That one I'm pretty sure is going to be part of the Wednesday one, because that sounds like something that's being fixed with so that Treebeard will be able to that sounds like something that they will want with Treebeard. It goes up to 130. For missions and delvings, to address an issue with Lalia spawning into Anniversary Mission Lalia's Safe Passage at the incorrect level, she will not be present when players first enter the instance. A lantern has been placed on the ground to help you know where she will appear. I'm not too sure, because I don't recall ever having any trouble with her appearing in the right spot when I ran it. It's sort of moot now because the anniversary's over. Banners in the Gunabad Jelruka Allegiance Mission Chapter 2, the Mountain Home, are now easier to see and hang, and persist through the end of the mission. Thank you. Hooded Cloak of the Wise Wanderer and Hooded Cloak of the Roak are now correctly showing the hood's texture on female avatars for Race of Man, River Hobbit, and the Ornings. The Hound Housing Property Guard is now correctly categorized as a beast. Fix several new backpack cosmetics that did not accept dye colors correctly, Sophisticated Birders Pack, Mushroom Hunters Pack, and the Pack of Whimsy. And the Pack of Able Angler can now accept dyes. For the PvMP and Netmores, in order to restore a measure of parity to the march for monster players and mount skills for traditional players, we have increased the induction duration of the march skill by 0.75 seconds. That might go with the PvMP changes rather than next week. Let's see. For landscape, in Arid Mithrin, Dory and company no longer clip into their goats. And Southern Mirkwood roving threats will now spawn at a location in Tar Morvith, slightly southwest of Methacad. And miscellaneous Raceman, Elf, and River Hobbit hairstyles no longer have edge brightening graphics artifacts inserting certain lighting conditions. Alright, and so I expect some of those changes might be in next week's release, but I don't know. We don't yet have details on what's going to be in next week's release. All I know is that it is going to include support for the anniversary and is, of course, going to include the level 130 for Treebeard, so that they will be at their final level for their last two and a half months, I guess, of being available. And that's it for the release notes. Anything that anyone wishes to add?
Nope.
All right. Now, they did have a discussion on the stream on Friday concerning the Midsummer holiday, then that they will have their new Midsummer location in the Shield Isles available when the worlds open up next week for the Midsummer event, and it is called Further Home. Further Home is the name of the new area in there. I guess that was sort of like a play on words with Winter Home or something like that. It would be my guess into it. And one of the things that they noted in here is that swimsuits have finally come to the Lord of the Rings Online. Of course, this being LOTRO, they are the most modest swimsuits that have ever existed, but they have arrived.
As modest as our underwear?
Yeah. Right. Yes.
Watch, it's basically just colorized versions of the underwear.
You know, I can see that being possible. I'm glad that our clothes don't get waterlogged or make it harder to do things like swim in LOTRO.
Yeah. There is that.
Imagine you're trying to swim away from through the forest of Burnin or something, and you just go slower and slower and slower and start to sink. Because you got to put on your swimsuit.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to enforce anything on that or anything like that. It's just because they figured that'll be fitting because you're here in the Shield Isles where it's quite warm and all, so it's summertime in the Shield Isles. You can imagine that that swimsuit sounds like an appropriate attire for such an occasion. And also, we had this week the latest episode of We Have a Cave Troll. That was on Thursday, and the theme for this week was Gaming as a Journey. And we have a link to the video in our show notes. And that is it for our news this week. So, Sans, what's on sale this week?
Well, this week we have hot days and hot deals with summer sales here. We have 35% off black steel keys, 60% off cosmetic slots, 75% off Monster Play, and that lasts through June 19th. We also have stand out from the crowd with 30% off select shared wardrobe, slots, presumably? Spaces? Select cosmetic outfit slots, mounted combat trait specs, and select cosmetics now through June 19th. And to give the traditional note there, double check that the cosmetics cannot be acquired elsewhere before you buy them from the LOTRO store if saving money is something that you're interested in. And weekly coupon. We have a +5 Hope boost for 90 minutes with the coupon code HOPE, HOPE, now through June 19th.
Thank you, Sans. So, let's into our week in gaming. Cinders, what were you up to?
Not a lot, actually. So, after the show last weekend, I did play a little bit of Enshrouded with Krister and Sanswinda. We now have the next Hall of Halls unlocked. We've taken out some Shroud roots to get more little spark things and all that good stuff. So it was just kind of a fun day of adventuring. And then I have played some Stardew Valley with Pineleaf, and we have figured out how to both avert a hay crisis and do one of the crop shipping things. I already had 48 wheat planted to get hay. And we needed to ship 100 things of wheat, and they grow in like 4 days a piece. And we have to have it done in like 21 days. So I have 48 more in the ground. And we've already shipped 48. So we're going to have no problems meeting those goals. And I did get to the point where I am ready to buy a mermaid pendant on the next in-game day for Elliot after deciding to woo him. So, how was your week, Sans?
My week was pretty good. I did some major inventory management on Sanswinda, on Peregrine now, with Granda's help in LOTRO. And then went and roared at a magnificent lion with the help of Gorindus and Lunori. And that was pretty fun. I played some more Enshrouded with Krister and Cinders and took out some more Shroud roots. And I did some more farming and fishing in Stardew Valley. I've been really struggling between like the urge to save everything and the desire to have more money quickly.
Yeah. And that's the difference between Cinders and I. Is she's trying to save everything, and I'm trying to get more money.
I know, like, it evens out pretty well by the mid-year 2. But, like, right now I'm like, I want everything and I want all the money. And you can't have both at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well,
besides which, I'm running out of storage space, which might indicate that I have a bit of a hoarding problem in multiple games. But, you know.
I just want to insert the fact that I am not saving everything, and the stuff that I have saved has saved both of our rears multiple times already, because we'll be like, oh, we need this for this person. I'll be like, I've got one. In fact, I think I've got like 5. And then we'll be like, oh, we can't get it because it's not raining or whatever specific criteria we need. I got one. Check the storage boxes.
Right?
Yeah.
But the need for money is still a thing. So, yeah, that's kind of been my gaming this week. How's your week been, Pine?
All right. Well, I'll begin with my warden, who finished up the storyline for the latest content, and so I finished that at some point. Though I'm probably getting to now think of what's my next character who's going to go through. Probably start bringing my lore master in through. And lore master has started it, but has not yet finished here. So I'll probably work with my lore master next. But my warden is now finished with the new content, which is probably good because I suspect we're going to have some more new content pretty soon after that. Well, we have an anniversary event next week coming in, so that's at least some type of new content. And for our Hardened Traveler group, we defended Moria against the orcs, so we were running the Moria skirmishes. And then Stardew Valley, last week I had started a new farm, a Riverland farm, and in that I've been continuing this week. I'm now at the beginning, sort of early. Actually, I think it's maybe mid-winter right now. So we're in the middle of winter right now in there. But what's different about this playthrough is this is the first time I've managed to actually get to dance at the spring dance in my first year, because usually it's like, I'm sorry, no one wants to dance with you. I'm sure you encountered that problem in the past.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And anyway, it's winter now, and I've got 6 items left to finish up the CC. So and all those items are in the on the bulletin board. So it seems like it's always that bulletin board, which is the last one to get all finished up. And that's it for my week in gaming. And we actually have some news beyond LOTRO this week. And that is that I have provided a link to the Tales of the Shire gameplay trailer. So I don't know how many people have been following that one. This is I guess you could say, a cozy farmer sim set in Bywater is probably the best way to describe this. So think of so I get, well, maybe not quite. I'm trying to think it'd be better to think of it as Dinkum in Bywater or Stardew Valley in Bywater, something, somewhere around of that type of game in there. So that is coming out at the end of July. So we got too much in, and so we have a little bit of a trailer there if you're interested in that. I don't know if any of you two have been following that.
I have not really.
Okay. Yeah, based on lack of response, I guess not. If you have any feedback for us, you could send it to podcast@LOTROplayers.com. The Players Alliance has 2 shows. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we record LOTRO Players News, and we record DDO Players News when Drac is available. And that is all for tonight, then. This is Potly Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.